name is Alyssa Anderson. I'm one of the members of the Woodbridge Ad Hoc Town Sustainability Committee. And tonight we have with us Sherril Baldwin from Sustainable CT. She's going to be joining us to tell us a little bit about what's in and what's out for recycling. We also have some other members here tonight of the Woodbridge Sustainability Committee. Raise your hands. Woo! Represent. And we meet on Wednesdays, the first Wednesday of every month. We always welcome the public to come and join us. You don't have to participate. If you don't want to, you can just listen. Or if you have some suggestions, we're always welcoming you ideas and things that we should be working on in our town. We also have some members of Sustainable Bethany here tonight. Any of your fellow members here? Yep. All right, yes, oh sorry. Yeah, we have some more sustainable friends. So if you're in Bethany, you can speak to one of them about when they meet for their meetings. Food waste diversion in Woodbridge. If you are interested in having a composting service at your home, you can sign up with Blue Earth. They come to your home kind of like a weekly garbage and they will pick up the compost. We need 50 families in Woodbridge to sign up for the truck to actually make it to Woodbridge. It's not really worth it otherwise. So we have about 25 right now. If it's something you're interested in, please sign up and let us know. If you have any questions, feel free to ask any of the sustainability members that are here tonight. Heat Smart Woodbridge, actually I think pretty much every Woodbridge resident got a letter in the mail recently about signing up. A few of us have done it already. I signed up for April, so I'll let you know how it goes at our next lecture. But so far so good. Basically you sign up and the I guess the vendors who do the actual Heat Smart, where they come and heat proof your house, they will call you or email you and you can set up a time that works for you for them to come and check out your house and make sure that it's all secure and you are saving on your heat bills.
And is there a cost for that?
Yes, thank you. There is a cost for it. It's $75, but it is reimbursable. And also, if you're planning on doing any upgrades to your home as far as reducing your thermal energy output, it will qualify you for certain discounts that hopefully remain in place through the next 4 years, but we will see how that goes. But you still are required to do it first anyway. And it's a good idea because it'll tell you what you actually need and what you don't need.
In spite of the fact that you've done HES, so if you've done an audit already, you can still follow.
Yes, you can still qualify. Okay. But if you want to qualify for any of them and you haven't done an audit before, you have to do an audit first. You can also just do the audit to do the audit and not actually make any improvements. Or you can do the improvements without doing the audit, but then you wouldn't qualify for the rebates. So it's just a good idea overall to get that knowledge moving forward. I don't know if you want to read this. No, or I can read it. So it's all about what's in and what's out, and we know that it's always changing. What should we recycle? What should we not recycle? We don't want to be doing the wish cycling, which is throwing things in there and hoping that they will get recycled by some magic fairy dust. So Sherril's here to tell us all the details, and I'm actually really excited about this because I feel like I wish cycle way too much. You have an impressive bio here that we can all read.
I'd say the biggest thing is that I work for Connecticut Deep, not Sustainable CT.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. You mentioned that in the intro.
Oh, I
great organization, but not my agency.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I don't want to misrepresent.
And then let's see. Oh, our next lecture will be the third Saturday of the month, and also save your date for the Woodbridge Earth Day celebration on Saturday, April 26th, with some follow-up activities on Sunday the 27th, and some more follow-up activities. All of our recycling stuff is going to be the weekend after for bulk recycling, or possibly, depending on when we can schedule them. We're in the works. All right, and I will turn it over to Sherril. Thank you.
Well, thanks for having me. Thanks for coming out on this beautiful day.
I can take 40 degrees.
I think it was 53 at one point in New Haven.
60 in the house, I'm good.
Did you turn your heat off yet, though?
Not yet. Close.
So I can't get in.
No. All right, we'll go get person.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah, yeah.
So what I can tell you is you've got to pay close attention because there's 3 quizzes in this, okay? So you gotta, I'm grading. I understand there's a teacher in the house and she's going to be monitoring.
More than one.
More than one? Oh, fantastic. Who else is a teacher? Nice.
Retired?
Nice.
Retired.
Is there a prize though?
No, just, it's sort of self-congratulatory. You
Oh.
feel better about yourself and the
Put your
planet.
handprint on the wall maybe or something? No?
I don't even have
Stars?
stickers.
How about stars?
Stars. Star.
There's magnets and pencils.
I like that you do it for that.
That's right. You feel good. So how big are your schools in Woodbridge? What's your enrollment like?
Elementary schools, close to 800 something, 900.
And growing, still growing.
Yeah.
I'm assuming your committee gets emails about the municipal recycling newsletter and stuff? Somebody does? About upcoming things the department is doing?
Yeah.
We're doing a lot of outreach right now about Public Act 2445, which calls for schools to compost.
Oh, wow.
It's going into effect July 1st,
Oh,
2026.
wow. Good
So we
news.
have a couple of webinars coming up.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh, but
Oh,
you're
it's
in.
right, okay, I did it. It looks different.
Wow, awesome, thank you.
She's good.
Okay, yeah, so we're just gonna dive right in. All right, so a lot of you are connected to the sustainability committees, but if you're not, you may not be aware that we're part of we're in a waste crisis in Connecticut. You may hear about different news and different things that are going around New England or the country, but in Connecticut, we're hitting a crisis, and we kind of expected it was coming because we knew that the Hartford facility, also known as MIRA, the waste to energy facility, it chose to close in July of 2022. And as a result of that closure, a third of our municipal solid waste, or MSW, is now going out of state. And so what that does is it means that we are not only sending it out of state, increasing the prices associated with waste disposal, as well as we're now putting it into landfills, which is what we really don't want in Connecticut. We're predominantly a waste to energy state. And it also means that on average, our trash is now traveling about 400 miles, which is not great. So we're trying to increase our self-sufficiency, which is a challenge. We are no longer self-sufficient currently, but we're trying to get there.
Where is it being sent?
A lot of different states, predominantly probably upstate New York, Pennsylvania, might be Illinois and Ohio. And just so you know, I'm actually going to take questions at the end. So in response, the commissioner of the department knew that this was coming, that MIRA had told us, and so back in 2021, a coalition was formed. I believe your town is part of it. I think Bethany is as well, for sustainable materials management. And it was basically to say, what can we do? And a number of conversations, a lot of working groups. It developed a list of priorities or a menu of options. Bethany might be doing something different than New Haven, which is something different than New Britain, which is something different from Woodbridge. And so while there's a huge menu of options, not everybody's going to take all of them. They're going to pick and choose what works for them. But basically, it's about reducing waste, supporting the concepts and reuse activities, recycle more, reduce contamination, which is part of what this workshop is about, recover more food for human consumption, increase food scraps for composting, which I know your town is also working on, and implement new approaches like unit-based pricing, as well as EPR, or extended producer responsibility. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview, because if you haven't heard it before, it's good to learn about this method. And if you have learned about it, I'm just going to review it for you. So unit-based pricing is more of a systems approach. It's not looking at it at a small scale, but a systems approach. And it's where trash is managed like utility. So it's not a recycling program, it's a trash program. And basically, by looking at it as a utility, it provides an incentive to us as residents to do the right thing, which is to reduce, reuse, and recycle. Because we're feeling the cost. Because currently, most of us have hidden costs. Our trash is within our taxes, so we're not feeling it. There's no incentive for us to do better. And when it's hidden, we just don't feel like doing it if we don't want to. I know Bethany, I think, tried a program where they were doing unit-based pricing. When I lived in Michigan, we did unit-based pricing. It was just commonplace. Everybody seemed to do it. Where by treating trash like utility, you had a volume of trash that you would pay for. Mostly it would be in bags, so it can be in carts. And as a result, you didn't put your bag out unless it was full. And then you also really tried to figure out, what can I recycle? What can I do better? And so it's a great approach to save costs for the town, as well as to reduce the amount of trash that's going for disposal. Programs have found that residents will start donating for reuse more when these programs are in place. They're going to review the recycling guidelines, and they're going to look at other habits, reducing consumptive habits or reuse more. EPR, or Extended Producer Responsibility, is another systems approach. This is completely a different approach. This is also looking at waste, but it's looking at products as a category. We're familiar with a lot of different programs where we're basically shifting the management and the cost responsibilities to the manufacturers of those products so that municipalities are not footing the bill. We have a lot of EPR programs in Connecticut. You might be familiar with electronics, right? We have a free electronics program. Paint, you can bring it back to hardware stores or other retail shops that are participating. Mercury thermostats is mostly for contractors, but there's a program for mercury thermostats. Mattresses, Gail knows that program very well, Bedbug Queen in Connecticut. And so for communities that are participating, you can bring your mattress for free to the transfer station, and the municipality doesn't have to pay for that disposal. New programs, gas cylinders, those little camp cylinders, as well as 20-pound cylinders. Those are all part of a new program that's going to be starting October 1st. So if your town has not heard about it, I know that the Department's Solid Waste Advisory Committee meeting in March will be talking about the cylinder program, or maybe your town leaders are also learning about it. And then tires, a bill and a law passed on tires. That's going to be a huge one. Again, I've already mentioned I'm in New Haven. We have a huge illegal dumping issue.
Yes.
My road alone, we get tons and tons of tires. So what it means is that municipalities won't have to pay for it, which means they can share that cost savings to residents. So hopefully we'll see a lot less dumping. And then what's the future? Solar panels, batteries, carpet, hazardous waste, packaging. It's up to you. I just have to implement whatever law you want. So we're here for recycling. I wanted to give you some overview. So what is recycling? In the top corner here, we have a man with a cart, specifically a hauler. And often we think of this as recycling. We put out our blue bin, we put out our blue cart. Maybe you drive down to the transfer station, you bring materials into the transfer station. I've recycled. Well, that is an important part. We're all at the front end, but that's not recycling. Recycling is about collection, but it's also about processing. So that material goes to a materials recovery facility, which we might also call a MRF. And that's where materials are processed. Paper is separated from plastic, which is separated from metal, which is separated from cardboard, which is separated from glass. And then they're all packaged up separately and sold to an end market. Now, to sell to an end market, the MRF has to meet a specification. You might want a bale that's 2 by 2 by 2 feet. You might want a bale that's 3 by 4 by 5 feet with a wire rim, wire cord. And you might have different levels of contamination that you're willing to accept. You're going to accept 5%, you're up to 10, but you pay better. So can I clean it that much and try to get that money? So they all have to meet a specification and they sell their product, which is bales and bales of stuff. In turn, the end market makes something out of it. Sometimes it's a final product, and sometimes it's an interim. Here we have, it's either flaked or beads of plastic, and that's the product that that end market makes, and then they sell it to somebody who makes a milk jug, and then that milk jug is filled with milk, and then we buy it. And that's recycling. It has to go through the cycle in order for it to be recycling. Now, back in 2015, the department did a waste characterization because it's important for us to understand what's still in our waste stream so that we can identify programs to develop. And at the same time, we do a characterization of our recycling stream. We want to know, how well are we doing? What is in our recycling stream? And that's because things are different, right? We're reading less newspapers. We're reading the news online. And so it's reducing the amount of newspaper in the recycling stream. But what else is it doing? Well, this is our waste characterization of recyclables in 2015. And you'll see that more than 50% is recyclable paper. In recycling terms, we think of this as the fiber. So more than 50% is fiber. And then you have aseptic cartons and you have glass bottles. Ooh, and then you have this big red piece of the pie. That red piece of the pie means contamination. Things we don't want. Things that were mentioned, wish cycling. That's all the stuff that we put in that the MRF operators cannot deal with, and it ends up going into trash. And so what it tells us is that 18.2% of what is going into our recycling stream is thrown away because we are not putting the right thing in the bin. So it tells us we can do better. So when we pull that contamination out, all of a sudden we have a lot more paper, and we have really hardly any glass at all, and hardly any metal, and a bit of glass. And so that gives you a better sense of what our recycling stream really is, that is predominantly paper. And the reason I share that is I know that we're all concerned with plastic, but from a recycling perspective, if we're doing bottles, cans, and jars and tubs of plastic, that material is being recovered, and it's a very small percentage of the recycling stream. So now I'm going to bore you with markets, because I bet this group is very intellectual, and you're reading the New York Times and the Washington Post and learning about how recyclables are tossed into the ocean. Well, that's actually not the case in Connecticut. In Connecticut, wow, did I miss some slides? No, I guess not. I guess I have to come on. So it's not going to happen in Connecticut because it is mandatory. Yeah, I did miss some slides. It missed one of your quizzes.
Ooh,
yeah.
Pop quizzes.
Okay.
This has got way more fun.
3 quizzes.
Oh, free.
For 3.
Oh, free.
Yeah, I guess it got mixed around. All right. Well, you're going to do okay. Maybe the quiz got lost.
Who passed you?
Yeah. Anyway, so markets. So back in 2017, the industry was facing something called the China's National Sword. And this was a policy that China put out, and all the recyclables coming out of the United States heavily contaminated. Like us, 18, 20, in many cases 25% of it was crap. And this was after it got processed. So they were getting plastic bales and it had all this paper in it. They were getting paper bales and it had plastic and metal in it. And so China said, you know what? We don't want your plastic anymore. And then they said, you know, we don't even want your paper. The only thing we want to buy is cardboard. And at first they were like, we want cardboard as long as there's not more than 10% contamination. And then kept getting tighter and tighter, and they're like, now we want 5% contamination. And then it went even lower then. And then things were looking really tight. We were having to look at new markets and really cleaning up our act. And then COVID hit. And while we were all struggling, the recycling markets were fantastic because we needed toilet paper. And all the domestic markets were doing exceptionally well because all of a sudden our manufacturing had so much cardboard, not only because in general we have a lot of cardboard and it wasn't going overseas anymore, but because we were all buying it home. And so now all of a sudden we had a huge supply and a huge need. And so that was great. And then post-COVID, it was sort of like it was up and then it went down, and then it was going up at the end of 2024, and now it's kind of dipping. So it tells us that markets are volatile and markets change. However, it's not getting thrown away. So cardboard, or old corrugated cardboard, is currently at $77.50 a ton. It's actually down from last month. RMP is residential mixed paper. Usually it's always less than cardboard. Cardboard is worth a lot more. And residential mixed paper is worth only $37.50 a ton. Also down from last month. This just gives you a sense. That spike was COVID years. And then it went really down after COVID. We had some supply-demand issues. And then it kind of rise, and now we're kind of dipping again. But you know what? It'll come back up. And it's the same with plastics. Again, a lot of concern with plastics, understand the issue and concerns about plastic. But from a recycling perspective, when we're only talking containers, there are markets for all these materials and they are valuable. They all have a value. And those markets fluctuate too. And the same thing with metal. Aluminum cans are worth a lot. Steel cans are worth a great amount, 180 a ton. But you're all here because you want to understand how to recycle. So we recycle and dispose of things in many ways. When we go shopping, we might go to this store to pick up shoes, and then we go to that store to pick up the milk, and then we have our favorite place to pick up our produce, or et cetera, et cetera. Well, it's the same thing when you dispose of things. Not all things go in one container. We have our trash, we have the mixed recycling or single stream, we have brush, we have food scraps, bulky waste, I heard that's coming up for your town, textiles, whole separate stream, paint, electronics, plastic wrap, film that you might bring back to the grocery store, and I've just put in Oscar because I like Oscar. And so when we think about all the different ways in which we can recycle or we can dispose of things, it's important to not put everything in the mixed recycling bin because there's probably a different program for it. So I'm just going to review a couple of other things related to containers. You're probably familiar, of course, that Connecticut has a bottle bill program and that it first passed in 1978. And then changes happened in 2009. And then again in 2021, big changes happened. So in 1980, it was primarily soft drinks or carbonated beverages, right? It was beer, soft drinks, and mineral water. And then in 2009, Connecticut added water bottles. And then in 2021, all of these other things were added. Hard seltzer, hard cider, plant water, juice, juice drink, tea, coffee, kombucha, plant-infused drink, sports drink, or energy drink. And that was effective January 1st of 2023. And we were paying a nickel at that time on all those new containers that you could bring back for your deposit. And then at the beginning of last year, the deposit went up to 10 cents. So hopefully you're all aware that it's now a dime and that the store isn't, stealing your money. You can bring it back and get your 10 cents back. Anybody know what happens to the 10 cents if you don't bring it back for deposit? Half of it goes to the bottle manufacturers and half of it goes to the general fund. So if you don't want your dime back and you want Lamont to have it, put it in your recycling bin.
Or give it to homeless people.
Or give it to somebody else that would benefit from it. A lot of transfer stations will have like even rotating causes. This month the girls club, this month the... And then at the same time in 2021, when the bottle bill had drastic changes, miniature liquor bottles had its own little bill. And it was not part of the bottle bill. However, they put a 5-cent fee on the bill, on the bottles. So what happens is that 5-cent fee is tabulated. The the Wine and Spirits Wholesalers of Connecticut, they tabulate and calculate how many nickels were spent in your town, and every 6 months they write you a check, and they give you that nickel back. And the nickel is supposed to be spent on litter programs or other programs related to recycling and waste management. Now, I don't know how much Woodbridge get, but I can tell you New Haven sells a lot of bottles.
We get them too.
Oh. Yeah. And so if you're not aware about what happens to them, you should inquire, because especially the sustainability group should have access to those dollars.
Definitely.
And if you're interested, the department does not calculate. The department has nothing to do with this program, but we do have a webpage called Bottle Bill Stakeholders, which you can Google, Connecticut D Bottle Bill Stakeholders. And every 6 months, we post how much money your town was given. So you have a sense of how much every 6 months your town is getting.
I don't think we have a store. Oh, the store that sells liquor?
Yeah, you may not.
Yeah, because the one that is in Amity, it's down in New Haven.
It's in New Haven.
Yeah.
So I think Sharon, I think
We
once
have the
Brian
bottles,
Bartram from
so-
Sharon, Connecticut,
Oh.
told me that they made like $12.
Who be called though?
I think it was the town of Sharon or something.
Oh.
They don't sell a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The New Haven's like $1 million.
It's definitely about, it's about 175 to 100 every 6
Every 6
months.
months, wow.
It pays for a recycling coordinator.
Oh, okay.
So, question, are we recycling right? This is what everybody wants to know. So I definitely missed the first quiz. It somehow got deleted. So the first question was, I'm assuming that you are aware that recycling is mandatory in Connecticut, right? You all know this. So the quiz was, what year did the law get implemented? Was it
1970.
Oh, it's a multiple
choice.
What kind of a teacher
Yeah,
are you?
come
Giving
on.
away the answers. So was the law passed in 1979? Yeah, 1982 or 2012. So do you think it was 1979, 1989? No, 1979. Show of hands.
Well, we're gonna go with what she said.
1980, people were 82, and 2012.
2012.
So it's a trick question because mandatory materials were as early as, I want to say 1991, now that it's not in front of me. Maybe that's when it was implemented. But in 2012, more materials were added. And so we have quite a list. And so the other part of the slides that somehow got deleted is showing you a list of all the mandatory materials. And it's a lot. It's newspapers, cardboard, cereal boxes, beverage containers, glass beverage containers, metal beverage containers, and plastic containers. And then it includes motor oil and car batteries. And so when you look at only part of the list, you can understand what part is part of the part of the single stream mixed recycling program. That, you know, it's not automotive oil, it's not automotive batteries, it's basically bottles, cans, and fiber. So in trying to understand if we're recycling right, oh, this is the question, it was in the interesting spot. Okay, so there it is, 75, 89, or 2012. And so the answer is B and C.
D.
So here's your list. Wow, I represented, I just put it in different order apparently. So these are all the materials that are mandatory, mandated by state law that you must recycle them if you generate them.
Oh.
And it's regardless of where you are or who you are. Faith communities, churches, schools, town hall,
But then they don't do
Homes.
anything about it, they were supposed to do it,
you betcha.
but then they just don't.
And then if we break it down, you can see what goes in your blue bin. And you'll notice it says glass and metal food and beverage containers, plastic containers, and then box board is like cereal boxes, newspapers, magazines. It used to be that only high-grade office paper. We're so far beyond that. And that's why it says white and colored office paper. Right? We have like legal terms versus common knowledge, and then of course cardboard. And so all the other materials are mandated, but of course we don't put them in the blue bin.
What's the accountability? Like, how do you, like,
In business.
yeah, it's like, in New York City, they have like, oh, you know, we're gonna fine you because you did the wrong thing, like.
So I said I wasn't going to take
Oh, sorry.
questions, but it is an interesting question. So who do you think has accountability in New York City? The city. It's not the state of Connecticut, it's not the state of New York. So you all have ordinances in your towns that state the same thing that the state law says, and you have the power to enforce. So it's your power to enforce. I give thee power.
Can I just, I
Okay.
have to leave, but I just wanted to say that when I was in Florida, you went to the supermarket, they give you plastic bags. Everybody gives you plastic bags. And there's so many plastic bags. And the other thing is that somebody gave me for Christmas a nylon bag, and I keep it in my pocketbook. It's so easy to carry, and so you don't have to remember to bring a bag with you, and it's just very convenient. And I went to a store, I think it was Saks, off Saks Fifth Avenue. They're now selling designer goods, used designer goods. So I was like, whoa, you know, this is like unbelievable. So, yeah.
I'm sorry
Thank you,
have to
thank
leave.
you. I'm sorry I
you.
have to
Bye,
leave too. This is so interesting. Thank
And
you.
we're getting to the meat and potatoes
I
here.
know, sorry.
So there is a lot of issues and a lot of concerns about why recycling is so confusing. And I'm going to give you a couple of reasons why. First, this very busy slide. So this slide is from the Economic Research Service from the USDA. It's a little dated, 2021. But what it shows us, if we look at either line, is that we have over 20,000 new products on our retail shelves every year. 20,000 new products. And do you think when they're designing the packaging, they're having a conversation with me? Hey Sherril, is my package gonna make it into your recycling program? No. Do you think they're having conversations with the MRF operators in Connecticut? No. And so there's a disconnection between new product development and packaging manufacturing and packaging design with what our MRF facilities can handle, not just in Connecticut, but across the country. And then there's the recycling arrows. Those of us of a certain age will be very familiar with these, and that's because when recycling came about long, long ago, we relied on these arrows because at that time there was not a lot of products made out of plastic. There just wasn't. And now we have so many products made out of plastic. I'm sure a huge percent of the 20,000 new products every year have plastic packaging or a mixture of types of packaging. And so we cannot rely on these anymore as guidance. We cannot use these to guide us in telling us whether or not it's accepted in the recycling program. The only thing it does is it tells us what kind of plastic resin it is, and it's really used by industry. It's not meant for us. And so we need to rely on them less. I'm just gonna let that sink in, because I know it's very depressing.
Yeah.
It's not a guide. So back in 2017, I met with all the MRF operators in Connecticut, and we knew that every town was having a hard time figuring out how to educate their residents. And I would even do workshops, and you would say, is this recyclable? And Hamden would say, yes. and then Woodbridge would say no, and then New Haven would say I think, and they're all working with the same hauler and going to the same MRF. So just a misunderstanding, and so the state wanted to really take control of the messaging and help people understand, as well as helping the towns, especially towns that couldn't afford a recycling coordinator. So what we did is we posed these questions to our MRF operators. We wanted to understand what materials were detrimental to their system. As an item comes in, so if you're not familiar with the MRF, the way that the MRF runs is all the recyclables are picked up in a truck, and then they back up into a facility and they empty their load, and all these bottles, cans, and newspaper, cardboard, etc. are put on the floor, and then another vehicle pushes it forward into a conveyor belt, and it usually goes up a conveyor belt, and at that point you have people, and those people are picking. Usually they're picking out contamination, things that shouldn't be there, and then it continues on the conveyor belt, and then usually what happens is things like are blown off, or magnets pull things off. There's optical readers that understand what it is, and there's like a puff of air and it pulls something out. It is really amazing how it works. And then all the glass ends up at the end. So we have to think of these MRFs not just as equipment, but as people. And so we wanted to understand when things come through the line, are there products that are harmful to the staff? Harmful to the people that work there? Or are the things coming through difficult for the machinery? Or does that product that's coming through, does that item coming through reduce the value of your commodities? Remember, they have to meet a specification, and if they can't sell the product very well. And so when we chatted with them about what all of these things were, we came out with one universal list, which everybody now uses across the state. And we have Recycle CT webpage. We have a search tool in the webpage. A search tool, Can I Recycle It? This can go on any webpage in Connecticut. It's referred to as a widget, and a lot of towns post it on their town webpage. Sustainability committees can post it on their webpage if you want. It's a comprehensive database, and it's available to anybody. We also have haulers that use it, which is nice. And then we also have the app. And the app is nice because it's multiple languages. Our webpage is only in English and Spanish, so it is limited. But if you promote the app has 16 different languages. While it's not all the languages that are spoken in Connecticut, it's most of them.
What's that app called?
Recycle CT Wizard.
Oh, Wizard, all right.
And then Recycle CT also has other resources. You'll see in the back of the room for folks that are here. There's a flyer. For folks that are at home seeing this, you can go to the recyclect.com webpage and download your own flyer and print it yourself. When we did the waste characterization study, what came out was that there were 5 top contaminants. And when we discussed this with the MRF operators, these were the things that gave them the most headaches. And so all of these things should not be put in your recycling bin. Plastic bags, bottle caps, shredded paper, bagged material, and tanglers. Tanglers are things like garden hoses or wires or cords. It's even like when you get a paper bag and the handle isn't paper, but it's like a cord. That cord is considered a tangler. It tangles up equipment. So we need to keep it out. Some more myth busting. Pizza boxes are in. As you'll notice, fiber is worth a bit, and it's predominantly more than 50% of the recycling stream. And you can put it in regardless of how much oil is there. We just don't want food. And plastic is only about containers. It's not about every single plastic thing that you create in your household. It's about bottles, jars, jugs, tubs, buried containers, and clamshells. The exceptions are no black plastic and no polystyrene or styrofoam. So it's about containers. No,
Container lids.
we'll get to that. So no containers. And then no paper cups, no paper plates, no paper napkins, no paper tissue, no paper takeout containers. No toys. So pots and pans are recyclable, but they're not accepted in this program. Do you know why? It harms the team, the staff, as it goes through the system. It's a heavy container and it hurts. So scrap metal, pots and pans should be put in your scrap metal at your transfer station. All right, quiz number 2. Which are the bags of trash and which are the bags of recyclables? Can you tell?
In the picture?
Yeah?
Oh my, no.
MRF operators can't tell either.
Trick question.
It is a trick question. And when you bag your recyclables, they get thrown away. So if you bag your recyclables, deep breath, let it go, and just stop bagging them because they'll be thrown away.
Because like there's people that bring them in a bag.
So you see this.
Ship them out and they bring their bag.
This is equipment that is, so the way that this equipment runs is it's actually a bunch of like dowels, and those dowels have like little knives on them, and they go in succession. It's coming off a conveyor belt, and it spits everything up. But when it has plastic bags and cords around it, which are all there, it doesn't work. So what has to happen? 3 days a week, a man jumps down into it and manually cuts it. So you see the yellow blob?
It's like the hair on your,
See the yellow
Your vacuum
blob?
cleaner.
that's a hand.
The yellow blob is a man.
Yeah.
He had to jump down in the equipment and he's cutting everything off manually. So if anybody's in manufacturing or in business, if you had to shut down whatever you were doing 3 times a day, it costs money. So who do you think is paying for that? We are, because they can't process the materials, and so there's a cost associated with that. So it just tells us that we have to do better. Here's another picture of everything with plastic bags and cords. 2 guys are manually cutting it. And then here's all the stuff that the guy with the yellow shirt that he cut off while I was standing there. That was how much he
Wow.
cut off.
Are you sending us this slideshow?
Yeah.
I can.
Okay, 'cause I want
Would we
those-
be able to use it in
Can
our
I use those
classroom?
pictures?
Yeah, can we use it in our classroom?
Because we're trying to collect a feature and that would be great to show them why not.
So the emphasis here is please do not bag your recyclables. And don't put bags in the recycling bin. It causes a lot of problems. So why does quality matter? We are at the front end. We decide what goes in our bin and what does not. And if we can reduce contamination, it means that the MRF operators have an easier time of sorting our stuff. They can better meet their specifications to sell their product, which can then be made into a new product that we can then buy again, thus completing the recycling cycle. If you weren't sold already, this is glass. This is glass from a MRF.
Fantastic.
Because what happens, as I said, everything goes through and the last thing is glass. So everything that falls through the system falls into the glass. And that is pens, pencils, markers, tampon applicators, toothbrushes, lip balm, toothpaste, batteries, razors, bottle caps, craft jewelry, nail polish, coffee pods, squeeze nozzles, prescription bottles, plastic utensils, etc., etc. So if these items you thought go in your bin, now you know they cannot. And then some other things the MRF operators like to remind me of. They don't want batteries. Batteries are a problem. They don't want syringes. Staff get sticked a lot, and then they have to do something about it, and that causes a lot of problems. Propane tanks, they don't want those. Now that we have a program, hopefully it will reduce. The program doesn't start till October 1st, and propane tanks explode in the system. Ammunition explodes in the system.
Putting ammunition.
For some reason, they get a lot of lawnmower blades in the summer.
Yeah.
No knives or utensils, and not just plastic. They don't want metal knives and utensils either because those are problematic. So if you have them, they can probably go in the scrap metal, but they can't go in the mixed recycling. Diapers and tampons, just gross.
Yeah.
So if nothing else, I hope you've learned the difference between recyclable versus acceptable. There are a lot of things that are accepted in the blue bin program, the mixed recycling single stream program, but a lot of things are accepted somewhere else. Now it's time for your quiz.
All right.
You guys ready?
Uh-huh. I'm so excited.
Oh, actually, I'm going to turn that off because it's blinding me.
I'm sorry. I love this stuff. Or a bad one, I always hit the comment.
Okay. So I'm going to start you off easy. Pizza box.
In.
But it's got nothing in it. Pizza box.
In. Even if it's greasy, you said they want to pay a lot of
Yeah, it's
money
got
for it.
grease.
But if there's crust, just pass it.
That's right,
I'll
yeah.
take care of it. There should never be food left.
We should have brought pizza.
Milk jug.
Ooh, that's fun. But it has plastic. Do you have to
In
remove
or
the
out?
plastic first?
It is in. Connecticut takes milk jugs.
collection thing.
With
I
the
know, but
cover?
you have to has the plastic thing on.
No, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter?
No.
There's paper.
So one of the things in terms of like caps and lids, bottle caps can stay on, but if you have a loose bottle cap, you should throw it away.
Because they jam it up.
That's right, they jam it up.
So can the bottle caps stay on the carton?
Yes.
And when I was talking lids, I'm thinking container lids.
Yeah, lids are fine. Can't seem to find any
Like a
right now.
takeout lid,
Oh, so this kind of a lid is fine.
but not the bottom part.
That's right. Do
Yeah.
you know
Because-
why?
Because it's made of paper and metal.
Yeah, so these are called, there's an interesting name for this and I'm spacing out right now, but I had no idea that these were such a problem for MRF operators.
Doesn't that make sense? There's multiple layers, right?
It's not just the layers, some are metal on the
Right.
top and the bottom, and then cardboard, and then there's like a metallic stuff on the inside, and there's even something that looks like metal, but it's actually plastic.
Right.
And then you have Pringles containers. They're very similar, metal, not metal on this side, but then, yeah, they hate these things.
Yeah, the plastic and the stupid foil liners.
Yeah, what does the foil liner even do? Does that have a functional?
I'm sure it does for the
Yeah,
product.
with grease and
Oh, okay.
it's protected for food.
So all of these things are out.
Just the lids can go in.
Yeah, so if
Any
you
color?
have a big oatmeal container that is all cardboard, I would say this is in, but I usually pull out the plastic lid.
Okay.
And so that's up to you to decide. Egg carton,
Yeah.
nice. Cleaning thing,
And
so, yeah. Lid, the cap okay?
As long as it's on.
As long as it's on.
or throw it out. Oh, it is black. It is black plastic though.
It is, but a cap, to be honest, I'd probably pull it out and throw it in the trash.
But they won't recycle it because it's black plastic.
It's more that it's about black plastic containers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that might be
Why?
made of
Okay.
different.
Pasta box.
And as long as you remove the plastic from it.
You don't even need to remove
What?
that.
Mind blown.
Mind blown. So,
I've been doing that for like years.
good for you. Okay, so I was just told I have 5 minutes left, so I'm gonna switch over to little containers.
Not the pill bottle, which I was gonna mention, shouldn't that be on your, just not the, your slideshow is amazing and I'll copy of it. But you have the things you can't take, like the black plastic, shouldn't the
Somebody was paying
pill bottles be
attention.
on that?
Oh, she really is. She wants her gold star. I can
I don't
tell.
need to start, it's all.
So other people, do you think it's in or out? So I'm gonna go through it. This is brown glass, in or out? I'll tell you in a minute. Plastic bottle, in or out?
In.
Another plastic container, in or out? Prescription.
No.
So sadly, small things are very confusing.
Yeah.
Small things contaminate. We learned that, right? We saw it in the glass. And the way that small things contaminate is because they go through a grate that then enters the glass. So the first thing I would tell you is if it's small like this and you're confused and you don't want to think about it, just throw it all in the trash. If you want to know the details, because some people do, like this woman in the second row. Just gonna say it. It has to do because the grate is a 2 by 2 inch square, or perhaps the size of a credit card. And if it falls through, it's going to contaminate the glass. And so most miniature liquor bottles, and even this big one, falls through. This one doesn't fall through. But if you're not sure, I'm fine with you throwing it away and not contaminating. The irony is that these small containers contaminate glass. And so this one's glass. So even if it fell through, it'd be fine. That's why if you can't think of those details, just put it all in the trash. Small containers can contaminate. All right, I'll ask a few more because
out at work tomorrow.
all right. Hanger,
No, tangler.
but it's plastic.
But it's a tangler.
Oh, but it's metal too.
It's a tangler.
It is a tangler. All right, nice. Thank you for listening. All right, how about this kind of packaging?
Unless you do the separate recycling of film, if it is film.
It is not film, so this is trash.
Yeah, those don't.
Not even in the nylon bag?
That's right.
Sorry.
It's 2 people. I gotta find who they are.
So there is a type of plastic bag that is a film, and it's accepted in grocery stores that participate in the
And at
program.
each-
And at Beecher Road School,
And I need to get like 400 more pounds in the next 45 days.
I have like 100 in my house over here.
So you want to say that more clearly for the camera?
I need 400 more pounds in the next 45 days, which is 10 pounds a day, which is very doable. So, of
And where are you
plastic
collecting
film
it?
at Beecher Road School. Drop it off.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So plastic film is stretchy film. And so what you can do is if this stretches, this is film. This kind of stuff doesn't stretch. In fact, it usually rips. Even to like the bags that are for grapes. You think it's stretchy, but it's not. It just tears. Again, if you don't care about the difference and you don't want to deal with it, you can throw it all away, or you can talk with her because she wants your plastic film. All right, so I'm going to open it up to you since we
Not
have limited
frozen
time.
bags,
Okay.
though. No frozen foods.
Well,
It's a
I'm gonna say
multi-layer
thank
bag.
you, because that was amazing. And questions?
Okay, two questions in it. You know, like soy milk and Tetra Pak, okay, they have a metal film, so I've always assumed those could not be recycled.
Nope, they're the same as a milk carton. Juice boxes,
But they have
the,
a metal inside of
That's
them
okay.
for
That's
UHT.
okay.
You-
I don't know why, but there's good markets for it. We even have an end market in Connecticut.
Wow.
They make architectural ceiling tiles.
Oh.
And same goes for just plain old milk, which has plastic on it instead of all carton, a plastic lid. Right, so that's perfectly
That's
okay.
fine. Mhm.
Would it be helpful if we remove the plastic at all? Is that gonna streamline anything or expedite the
No,
process?
I think that's fine. For me, I actually remove the bottle cap personally. But that's because I know somebody that makes sculptures out of them. so I
Oh,
keep
okay.
it. Mhm.
I have 2, easy ones. Where do tires go eventually? Are they recycled as plastic? You mentioned tires are going to be a separate
Yeah,
issue.
so there's going to be a tire EPR program, which means that the tire manufacturers are creating a program so that municipalities won't have to pay for the disposal. I'm not sure, you guys have a transfer station, right?
Yeah.
And does your transfer station accept tires at this time?
I don't think so.
They don't.
But usually they will recycle them, like when I got my tires replaced down at Monroe down here in Amity, they said that they recycle them, they like hoard them for a while and then they come and they send them somewhere else. And they use for like
Yeah, I had
playgrounds,
to
and
say that.
they charge you, which is why
Yeah.
they're like tire swings now,
Yeah.
but, yeah.
So it probably depends.
So eventually, it might be just a separate entity where,
I can tell you it may be recycled. I know a lot of tires are sent to incinerators and are waste to energy.
that's.
There's a waste to energy plant in,
Yeah.
I think, Maine that accepts them.
And then my other question, and I guess it could refer to tires, in a way. What's the deal with black plastic? Why is black plastic out?
So when it goes through a MRF and it's magnet and da-da-da, it also has optical scanners. And the optical scanners read it and they have an understanding of what it is. And it can't read black plastic. I know that optical scanners are getting more, I guess, smarter, if you will. But still, because of the pace that materials go through, they're having a really hard time reading it. I've heard some folks were talking about putting in some type of a watermark.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we literally have to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.